In the city of Jammu, overlooking the Tavi River, is one of India's most spectacular palace complexes, forgotten, endangered, and left to ruin. This is the famous Mubarak Mandi Palace complex from where the Dogra rulers of Jammu and Kashmir reigned over their sprawling kingdom. For over 200 years, the Dogra rulers consolidated and expanded their kingdom from the plains of Punjab to the south to the Pamars in the north. This palace complex tells the story of Jammu like no other, of its golden days and troubled past. According to Raj Darshini, a historical account of the Jammu region written by 19th century historian Ganesh Das Badhera, it was Raja Hari Dev's grandson, Raja Dhruv Dev, who moved his residence from the old palace in the Purani Mandi area of Jammu to a new, more spectacular location overlooking the Tavi River, which is today called Mubarak Mandi. Over the years, the palace grew as additions were made. New palaces were constructed during the reign of his son and successor, Raja Ranjit Dev. Large part of the palace was burnt down when one of the many Sikh confederacies or missiles sacked Jammu, razed it to the ground, ushering an era of mayhem, of palace intrigues, factional wars and tussles, all of which ended only in 1808 when Sikh ruler Maharaja Ranjit Singh conquered Jammu and made it a part of his kingdom. A new phase of Dogra rule in Jammu truly began when the Jagir of Jammu passed on to the hands of Gulab Singh, who went on to become Maharaja Gulab Singh, the founder of the princely state of Jammu and Kashmir, who along with his generals like General Zorawar Singh went on to extend the boundaries of the empire to include Tibet, Baltistan and Ladakh. Maharaja Gulab Singh added several mansions to the Mubarak Mandi Palace complex. Maharaja Ranbir Singh, the son of Maharaja Gulab Singh, who ruled from 1856 to 1885, renovated and enlarged the Mubarak Mandi Palace, and it is under him that it took its present form. It is also during this time that the administrative offices around the palace were enlarged substantially, dwarfing even the royal residences. After Maharaja Ranbir Singh, Maharaja Pratap Singh also added several buildings to the Mubarak Mandi Palace complex, the most prominent being the Rani Charak Palace in 1913, which he built for his favourite queen Rani Charaki. A lift was also installed in Rani Charaki's palace. By the time of Maharaja Pratap Singh's reign, Mubarak Mandi Palace comprised of 25 buildings spread across 12 acres. It had a covered area of more than 4 lakh square feet, which houses buildings like the Darbar Hall, the Sheesh Mahal, the Pink Palace, Royal Court buildings, Gol Ghar, Nawa Mahal, Hawa Mahal, Tosh Khana, and the Rani Charaki Palace. Built in different periods of time, these monuments are a spectacular mix of architectural styles and construction techniques. The glorious days of Mubarak Mandi Palace complex suddenly came to an end in 1925 when Maharaja Pratap Singh's nephew Hari Singh became the next Maharaja of Jammu and Kashmir. He moved out of the Mubarak Mandi Palace complex to the Hari Nivas Palace nearby. After Maharaja Hari Singh moved out, the complex served only as the royal court and secretariat of the Jammu kings until it was taken over by the state government after India's independence. Mubarak Mandi Palace complex, the soul of the Dogra people and the epicenter of their history. An epicenter for India's history at the northernmost frontiers, stands in ruins today. It has been a victim of loot, pillage, arson, and apathy. The once stunning Mubarak Mandi Palace complex, a melting pot of different workmanship styles, Rajasthani, Mughal, and European, where Gothic arches coexist with Mewari jharokas, has been in a state of decline for decades. We live in the hope that we will see the results of a much needed, honest restoration work on this seat of not just Dogra history, but Indian history.